My father was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Besides that, the physical and mental abuse was like daily. There's very few of us that like made it from that era because it really was drug heavy. It definitely was me coping. I went cold turkey. Like I just held on to this vision in my head. Like I just held on to that dream because that's what it takes to stay a champion. Like Monday to Thursday is all day.
During the week you train all day?
Yeah, pretty much all day. Just like, you know, sometimes in between, but like all day pretty much. And you get a break, you come here, you breathe a little bit, then you go back and drill. I don't go all the way back to the gym to drill. I'll go to my girlfriend and I'll drill on the floor.
Does she have like a nice little space you guys
No,
can
we
drill?
just have a rug and just, you know, she brings it out and like we just put it down. You just do the drills that like I would do my hard drilling at the gym, and then the extra stuff like if I'm doing double pull or breaking mechanics or guard retention and stuff like that, we'll just do it in the apartment.
Specific stuff.
Yeah. Or if we really want to, we'll go downstairs in her gym. She has a gym in her apartment, and that's where I go lift.
Hey,
and I save money. So like, I just go to her apartment and lift. And down the gym is like a personal gym. So like only people who are in the building and not many people lift all day. So like I could just go in there and drill her a little bit. It's like great.
Dude, how big is that to have a nice gym you could go to and use?
It was great. It definitely saved me a lot more money. I used to pay for a gym all the way back all the way in House Kitchen where I used to live.
Okay.
I used to live down there with my ex, and over there, I went to a gym there, and they had a great gym, but it was just I got tired of being there and the traveling back and forth because it was like, man, I don't mind gym. It was a different time in my life.
Yeah.
I definitely like was in the steam room all the time, in the sauna all the time. Now it's like I want to be in my apartment.
Yeah. Once you get something like this, like your own space, you just want to be here as much as possible.
Well, you live with your, I live with my ex, and we were together for a very long time, so it's just a long relationship. So I think it came to a point where I was just like staying out in steam rooms and stuff, and like in the gym I'd stay out and hit the pool and hit the sauna. Some of it was to recover, but also the thing was just to stay out and like decompress, versus like, you know, when we separated, I like left and moved out into my own space, and I got to be like alone, and then that kind of made me feel like, oh well, no, I want to be here. I'd rather be here than outside. Yeah.
So the gym was like the sauna and the steam room was like your quiet time to yourself.
Yeah, and then I realized that maybe it wasn't that I was just trying to do recovery. It was more like, oh, I was trying to escape a little bit. And so like now that I have my place, I don't really go as much. I only go for like, you know, like once in a while or something like that. I won't go out my way to like do that.
That's good. That's healthy though, right? You figured it out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, things change when you get by yourself and you really like learn about yourself.
Dude, I think so too. Because I was in a 6.5 year relationship, and I'm young too, so my formative years. And then I got out of the relationship, and in the beginning it was really hard for me, but after I started to learn about myself, and I think it's the best thing that's ever happened.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
23. How long? What age did you start the relationship?
We started the relationship, like we met each other when we were 13, 14 years old, and we were really close throughout high school. She lived in another state. She lived in Arizona. I lived in California. And then senior year of high school, after we graduated, we moved in together, and we lived together from 2019, 2020, 2021 to 2022,
you lived through
2023.
COVID and everything, huh?
Yeah, we lived through COVID. I actually lived with her family in Arizona during COVID.
How hard was that?
It was interesting. Thankfully, her family's really cool, and they were really accepting for me. But it's like they were all girls. It was an all-girl household. Her grandma, her mom, her and her sisters, and so it was definitely different for me.
Oh wow!
You know?
No, I lived. I was in with my ex for like 17 years.
Wow!
Since I was 16 years, about 16, 17 years old, I met her. She was older. We were older by 6 years, and it was a long relationship. And so like when we separated, it was like a divorce. It was like I losing we were just so much. It was so much. So like when I left and I finally got away, it was really, really hard to let go of all these things. And then like when you were by yourself, I started realizing a lot of things about myself. Like that was the most growth I've had when I was just by myself, and I just didn't have anyone else there. Because she was like the last person of my old life. So like now, nobody coming forward besides like my sister or my brother-in-law will know me from that life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
you created a different version of yourself, right?
Yeah. She's the only one who knows like the like all the stuff, you know.
Same thing with my ex, right? She's seen the worst of me before. I'm not proud of it, but at the end of the day, it's who I was, and like you too. Like I'm sure you've come such a long way from there, and you're proud of the work that you've done yourself.
Yeah, I think that there's like in a 17-year relationship, it's going to be both people. It's not going to be one person.
Bro, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a marriage.
Yeah, and
right
I'm
there.
like, I'm with my current girlfriend now, and I've known her for 7 years, but we really obviously only been together for like the last, since I moved out officially. We were like probably like 2022 was official. So it's like only really together with her for like that long. But it's different relationship. It's a different relationship. It's like you meet her as a man, and
Yes.
it's much different because like you don't have the same. It's just a different relationship, you know, like, but a very healthy relationship, and very, very happy to have her.
That's good. How much of a difference does it make?
It's
to
good.
have
We actually
someone
like our space. That's why we don't live together.
Wow.
So she lives down the street and I live here.
And she trains too.
Yeah, I trained her from pretty much, she came to me as a blue belt, but she was really a white belt. I trained her all the way up to black belt. She just got her black belt.
No kidding.
This past year. Yeah, she won the worlds at brown belt at Master 1. So she ended up promoting her because she had just pretty much won a lot of stuff. She won Master 1 worlds in the gi in purple, and pans in purple, and she did a bunch at brown. She didn't do so well at worlds at brown, but then she used that to bounce back and win everything else at brown. So
Wow.
I was happy with it. And now this is her first rookie year at black. So
Exciting stuff, right?
yeah, excited to see how she does.
I'm sure she's a little bit nervous. I'm nervous just to go into my next competition, but competing at black belt for the first time's gotta have. What was your first time competing at black belt?
My rookie black belt thing was crazy. It was Kasai. It was Kasai 135-pound competition. That was my black belt debut. So it was really cool because that one day I just showed up and I didn't care anymore. I was just like out in the sun. It was in Atlantic City, and so we were like out in the sun, and I was like chilling on the beach, and I was mad nervous, and I ended up feeling good. I remember because I had a staph infection on my chest, and I was just getting over it, and it was like, it sucked a lot. It was hurt really bad, but it was good enough, and we taped it up. We went through, and I made weight, and you know, if you don't know whatever it is, if you ever have a staph infection and you're finishing it up and you're making weight, it's like the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember I fought that day. Who did I fight that day? Imanari, Gio Martinez, and John Calistine were all my black belt debut. So it was like, and also like I had lost to John Calistine previously on EBI at brown belt. What people don't know is that I had popped my knee the weekend before in a really bad knee bar, and I couldn't walk. So like when I went into that competition, I knew I was gonna lose.
You couldn't walk?
Yeah, like I barely walk. It took me like 3 days to walk.
Oh, wow.
And I had to like warm up my knee and everything before I fought. And I knew I wasn't gonna fight well, and I knew I was gonna lose. But I had made a commitment to the competition, so I didn't want to like let people down. But then when going into this one, I was healthy, and so like I was very happy. And then I beat everybody, and then I fought my teammate Joao in the final, and I think he won by like 1 point.
Yeah, well, that was a close match, huh?
Yeah, that was a rough one because we didn't really want to fight, but it was kind of tough. But it is what it is, you know. Like we're 1 point, we're really good, and I felt really, really on top of the world at that point.
That's tough. You got to fight your teammate. You don't want to, but I mean, respect for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, somebody's leaving a champion, and we're both getting money, so
It works out.
yeah, and it was good. It was good. It was a good time. It was the black belt debut, so that's what that second place Kasai is for. Like I think it's Kasai 6, the second place.
The 6th one. That's cool. You're an OG kind of in the Kasai grappling.
Yeah. I was the first Kasai. If the people don't know, like I was the original qualifier for the first Kasai qualifier.
So cool.
Like so, the first Kasai qualifier was at 155. So I'm a light featherweight. So
Right.
I jumped up to 155 day before weigh-in. Wow. So obviously I didn't have to make weight. I jumped in and...
What were you weighing at that day?
147 with everything on.
Wow. So
Yeah,
10 pounds.
everyone else was cutting. Yeah, everyone else was cutting. Because like I walk around like at 145. Maybe if I'm eating bad, it's like 148. But like it's never like... For 45, I just walk on the scale.
Right.
You know, it doesn't really like... I don't drop too much at all. I kind of just eat clean and run on the scale. But for that one, it was tough because all the guys were huge. They were
Like 70,
yeah, they were 170 for sure. And I remember I fought a lot of guys that day. I fought all black belts. I was a purple belt at the time. I was at like the 4th year of my purple belt, and I had just been finishing up. I was working really in quiet, doing all my leg entanglements, and this was the first time I brought them out. And so like I brought on the qualifier. I subbed everybody. The first match was cool because I subbed somebody who beat me when I was a blue belt, and he was a black belt. He like beat me really, like he just subbed me quick. I didn't know what a heel hook was back then.
No way.
Yeah. And so like,
what were you at purple?
I was a blue belt, and I fought one of the ADCC Opens.
That just goes to show how much the game has changed, right?
Yeah.
Crazy,
yeah.
man.
And then we came back, and I fought him in the qualifier, and I beat him, and obviously he's bigger. And then I fought some other guy, another brown belt from Marcelo Garcia, and then I fought brown belt, and then all the rest were black belts. And then the last one I fought was a really good black belt, and he was way bigger than me, and I subbed everybody. And then I won the spot to fight in the actual pro tournament. When the pro tournament was really cool. I'll show you.
Hey.
Let me see if I have the poster. I think I have the poster somewhere. I'll show you just so that everyone sees.
A little artifact.
Yeah. So this is the original tournament. The camera's on, right?
Oh yeah.
This is the original tournament, and you can say that.
Look, there he is.
Renato Canuto. Oh my God, I forgot. Rico Coco, Vinicius, AJ, Munch, Tonin, and Grippo. And so like I had to fight. I think I had to fight Coco, Vinicius, and Grippo, all in one night as a purple belt, and I was undersized, and I didn't do bad at all. Nobody passed my guard, nobody scored any points on me, and I fought them. Unfortunately, I didn't able to get anything going too much, and it was like, me pushing pace, but they're much bigger than me, so I had to be careful. I remember this whole year because this year I had to train exclusively with our middleweights just to prepare for the tournament, and it was one of the hardest things I had to do. And I remember because after this tournament, I suffered the most injuries.
Really?
Yeah, I had the most injuries. My body just shut down after it because it was like so much weight that I had to have like fake fat on me to be able to fight.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was like one of those things, and this is like the first Kasai ever. And then after that, I won. I had second place in the next qualifier for the 135. The guy got injured who won, and then I ended up taking the spot and going back in. So it was like Kasai was cool, and the debut was cool because there was like a lot of history there.
Yeah, and it was like up and down too. You're fighting heavier dudes, and then you're subbing people. And
this was part of the time where like you had to earn your spot to be in the tournaments. Where like you could. It's not like it is now. Like everything's a super fight, which is not really super. Back then, during the Kasai qualifier, I earned the right to be in the tournament by fighting in the open qualifier, right? But you could find no other way to get in it. And at this point, you weren't even getting on super fights at all if you weren't really good.
Oh, wow. You really had to earn your way up.
Yeah, and this was crazy because at that time I was so frustrated with Fight to Win because like I wanted to be on Fight to Win, and they were picking all these other matches, and I was like one of the best guys as a purple belt and just beating people, and nobody, like I couldn't get a match, and I was so upset. And it ended up paying off because it was I think almost the same weekend as the Fight to Win, but I decided to do the qualifier, and I did the qualifier, and then I fought all the guys, and it was really dope. It was cool. It was like definitely my first outing. So I felt like Kasai was my first big promotion that built me, and I kept fighting on their matches. I had super fights on their matches and fought on their main cards, which was really dope. And then during COVID, Fight to Win became my platform. So Fight to Win became the place I went to, and then I rebuilt myself from there. And then you left, and I had Who's Number One, and I went on a bunch of stages. So it was kind of cool to go through all those motions.
Yeah, you've been in like all the different promotions.
Yeah. So it's really cool.
Like.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to focus too, like, cause we talk a lot about Jiu Jitsu, but you have an incredible backstory. Yeah. Growing up in the Bronx, right? You grew up in the Bronx originally. And what was life like when you were a kid in the Bronx? Super young. You're living in a Puerto Rican family in the Bronx.
Yeah. So I lived in the Bronx up till like I was about 6 years old. So I don't remember too much on that time frame because at that time frame I felt like things were not so bad growing up. Like obviously there's like not the greatest neighborhoods and whatever, but there was nothing too bad going on, or because I was a kid I didn't understand. And then we moved to Pennsylvania for a stint. So it was about like maybe 10, 11 years in Pennsylvania, where we would be in Pennsylvania. I'd lived the rest of my life down there, but I ended up, we traveled back and forth because we had a family over there as well. And during the time in Pennsylvania, I was able to grow up in nature, and supposedly my parents had brought me down there for a better life, but that ended up like backfiring because like it's so secluded and there was nothing but down there but drugs and the wannabe gangs who like wanted to like piggyback off the New York gangs. And so like people who came down there, when I came down there and as a kid, they were like, it was a very white community, Caucasian community. And there wasn't many minorities
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, in
right?
Pennsylvania at that time,
Right.
it wasn't. And then at the time we came, all the like minorities started slowly moving in. So the gang stuff and the drugs kind of really came with it. And so like down there, all you really did at the time, there's no internet, there's nothing like that back then. So you're just playing outside and going to school, and there's just drugs and gangs and stuff like that and fighting. And so like throughout that time frame is, you know, where I went through a lot of my trauma was in a lot of Pennsylvania. And then from there I ended up moving back to New York, I think at the age of 18 or 19. And I started working in New York, and I ended up moving fully back I think at 19.
Wow.
And then I was like very happy to leave. And then from there it was like tough because you had to like live on a couch and then on a floor to a couch to a room to moving to with my ex, and then where I'm at now, you know.
That's crazy. So you moved to Pennsylvania to get away from like the New York kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And then a different type of trauma found me.
Yeah, and then last time we talked, you said that everyone from New York kind of went to Pennsylvania as well.
Yeah.
So all of the bad, like they said, the drugs, the
Yeah,
gangs, it migrated over there, and then there was nothing to do in like rural
Yeah,
Pennsylvania.
So. There's nothing. And where I lived in Pennsylvania, it was like gated suburban communities, right? So like they're gated communities, but that didn't stop much because like I was always with an older crowd, and so like, you know, you're a kid, you're with an older crowd, so drugs naturally come up, and you know, you get kind of hooked on there. So like a lot of people I know who I grew up with, very few came out okay and unscathed. A lot of them went to jail, and a lot of them like ended up, you know, a lot of crazy gangs and not really doing anything with their lives, and or some ended up like committing suicide. So there's very few of us that like made it from that era because it really was drug heavy at one point. Like it became very like there were so many people always on drugs, and it wasn't a normal amount of like, oh, it's like just fun. It was like all the time. You know,
24/7.
So like, yeah, it was just so much. And
What kind of drugs were really
I mean,
back then?
besides marijuana, which people, you know, they dress marijuana as like a fun drug, but marijuana is a very, to me, is it addictive, just as addictive as anything, right? You make it, anything's addictive, right? So like, there's marijuana, cocaine, pills, you name it, you had it.
Everything.
But it was really big on pills at that time, right? It was very big on pills. Like when I was down there, I was very big on opioids.
That was like kind of the time where the opioid
epidemic
was going on.
That was when
too.
that was going down. So like it was a lot of like taking the pills and then you know, breaking it up, and you're either snorting it or you're putting it in your blunts and you're smoking it. And for me, I smoked it, you know. So like between the marijuana, which is like for me I got to a point where I was just half an ounce a day, and while I was selling it and doing not good things, I ended up taking pills, and the pills really fucked me up. The pills just put me to a different place, you know, like just lacing the blunts, and they just ended up putting me to a place where I was trying to numb a lot of pain.
How old were you when you were going through all these problems? With
I started at like 16.
Young.
Yeah, I was pretty young. I started at 16 pretty bad. Yeah, because I was dealing with a lot of trauma before then, but once I found something to kind of numb it, it kind of like just like went crazy.
Do you think you used because of like your childhood growing up and how that was when you were in your younger formative years? You know, like I would say.
Yeah, I think at first you're doing it should be cool because I really wasn't into drugs. I was into sports. I was into like wrestling and stuff like that. But once I got sexually abused by my father, and that just like slowly warped me, and it just changed my whole world, you know. And so like after that, I ended up just smoking and just getting to a place where I just wanted to be high all the time. And then I had damage in my ACL in wrestling, and I got kicked out I got expelled from my school. So it ended up making me even more like not doing anything. So I had to find money and be resourceful. So I had to like, you know, get weed, sell weed. And nobody really knew I was lacing the blunts with the pills at the time. So like like that was just like a really kept secret that I kind of like kept from everybody. So everybody just really thought it was just marijuana by its own, but it wasn't. I was like very heavy into like taking pills when I could get them and lacing the shit out of it.
Oh, so you would be smoking your
yeah,
weed and everyone
yeah,
thinks you're just smoking a blunt.
I wouldn't lace their stuff, but like I would lace my stuff.
Right, to
so
get
like,
that
yeah,
extra.
so we'd smoke blunts and we'd be cool and pass it around and stuff, but I was very adamant about smoking and being high all the time. Like just all the time. Like,
Yeah.
all the time. Like, oh, I need it.
Coping.
Like, I need it.
Right.
Yeah, like, so when I didn't have it, it was crazy. And my whole day revolved around drugs. Like, I wanted to work, and then I need to eat at this time with this, smoke at this time, and do that. And it was just wild. And so, like, it just became really bad for me. And I think for me, it was, you know, obviously being sober for a long time, it definitely was me coping, you know. And at the time, I didn't even know that I was doing it because of that. I think it was just like surviving, just trying to compartmentalize what was going on in my life. But it definitely changed my world when that happened. So like I definitely view everything differently. And then as an adult, you look back at all the things that were going on and you're just like, wow, it was even worse than I thought it was. You know what I mean? So drugs was very heavy back then. Which is why I don't really like get high too often or stuff like that. Like I'm all for THC. I mean, these days, if I take anything, it's like such a small dose that like I can like, you know, oh, I want to hang out with my girlfriend, want to have like a fun movie thing, and we'll go and take like, I don't know, like 4 milligrams of like an edible, and like it'll it'll be a fun time, but that's it. It's too much. It's like I don't function like that anymore, and my lungs are like virgin lungs now, so like I don't really like want to be high all the time. Also, like I get high out of life now. Like for all the years I was on that stuff and doing that stuff, I had nothing to show for it. Right? So like for all the years I was sober and fixated and, you know, focusing on the right things, I have a lot to show for it. So it's cool. Like I like recreational. Recreational's cool. I'm okay for it. But most of the time I stay away from it. Like and I don't like to do it too much in like group stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's more like by
just
myself
you,
or my girlfriend or something like that. I think that it's dope. I think that everything in moderation is great, but like it's a way you can start like slowly taking over. You know what I mean?
People say weed's not a gateway drug, but I think it can be.
I mean, I think anything can be a gateway drug, but I do believe that like, man, it really depends on the person too.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have never been through anything in their lives, so it won't be. It would just be like whatever. But for some people who've like been through stuff, they'll be coping with it without even realizing it. You know
like,
what I mean?
I don't feel.
Yeah, like, oh, I don't feel like I need it, but then you need it. You know, like, because if you have to tell yourself, man, when I get high, like I'm gonna time this and this on it, or I need it this time of day, or I wake and bake. I mean, I don't know, man. That's a little different. You know what I mean? Like it's like working out. Working out is a drug too, but like we're talking about like the risk reward ratios. You know?
Right.
Like me, Jiu Jitsu is like very good for me because it's like not just like my life and stuff. It is an outlet for me to release energy that I've stored because I've had such a negative upbringing. So for me, it is a little bit addicting, right? But in a good way, right?
So do you think jiu-jitsu's become like that thing that you kind of formulate your life around now? It was drugs at one point, and now you're like, when am I going to train? Okay, I got to figure out when I'm going to
exactly. I think you trade something for something, right? So like it's hard to just give up one thing and then go to another. Another thing is that you give up something when you get results. So like when I started getting results in my physique, so how I gave it up slowly was I started working out and I started doing things, but I was still smoking and I was still doing stuff and I was still eating bad. And then as I was doing this, I started realizing like, oh, you know, if I just don't smoke anymore and I don't do these little bit of pills and I don't lace the shit and I don't like get all fucked up, maybe I'm gonna see better results. And what I tried to do at one point was just, I did something that somebody like doesn't do. Like I went cold turkey. Like, which is the hardest thing I've ever done. Like
off of opiates as well.
Yeah. So like, I was like cold turkey, right? And at this time, it was like so the way it worked is, I stopped lacing the blunts as much, and it was just back down to like more like marijuana. And then from there, I was just like, I'm just gonna cut cold turkey. But I didn't just do that. I cut everything, like soda, like bad foods, candies, everything that I had just like known my whole life. I just kind of like cut it off
all at once.
Yeah, and it was like really hard for like a month, 2 months. And then after like the 2 month mark, I was like feeling a lot better mentally and physically. And then like I just started working. But I kept myself busy by working out all the time, like all the time.
That's the key,
Yeah,
right?
so like I kept myself busy. Like I couldn't be home sitting because I do it.
Was that period where you were like going to the steam room for 2.5 hours a day and working out?
Well, at this time, I would just work out all the time.
Wow.
Like it was not even like, it was just like all the time.
You were
Like
just
I
always
would
working
just
out.
2 hours, I'd go home and go right back because I didn't want to be sitting down for too long. So like, and then when I was working, I would just work, then lift and lift and lift. And I just didn't want to do anything like that. And then at this point, it was where I really gave up. Like, so at that point I was working out a little bit, and then I had my surgery on my knee, and my knee surgery stopped me from being able to do everything. So like, and then from there, I still had the painkillers for that because I had the stuff with the knee. But that made me realize how hard I was going to have to work to achieve what I had thought in my brain about being an athlete. And so if I was being real, I had to really like break that through. And I don't know how I made it through all those and letting go of all those things. I just really think I really wanted that end result more than I wanted others. But it was hard, you know, because like my father was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Everyone in my family has been on drugs, right? Minus my sister and my brother-in-law. Everyone else is pretty much on drugs. So it was very heavily surrounded by me.
Influenced in your younger
Yeah,
days.
for sure. And nobody really was into sports. And if they were into sports, they were into like baseball. They were like a Puerto Rican typical family. They weren't into like combat sports, let alone
Boxing or
wrestling.
anything like
Yeah.
that.
So it was definitely hard. But I think I found my outlet through that. And because I was able to get it out through that, it kept me from going back to other things.
That's awesome. So you could say, I mean, in a way that athletics, sports, jiu-jitsu helped, you know, facilitate your life into this amazing man who you are today, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
do you think without finding wrestling was it 15 you started wrestling?
Yeah, I
you think
wrestled at
without
15.
finding wrestling you would be where you are today? Or
No, I think that wrestling showed me okay, I was into MMA, but I tried wrestling and I was like, wow, so my first year I was a freshman in high school, but I did pretty good. I think I was like seeded 11 out of all the kids, and I had a knack for it, and I was like, you know, it was raw potential and stuff, but it definitely made me feel like, man, I could be good at this.
I'm good at something.
You know, I'm good at something. I'm important here. But then it got taken away so fast that like I was just chasing it always back, and I tried to get back into it, and then I popped my ACL, and not everyone in my life knew what was going on during that time, which is this is around the time that I was molested and everything, and then so like, and I was
How old were
constantly
you when that happened?
I was in the age between I think like 15 or 16 or something like this.
So fully aware, you knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah, so it was like it was rough. It was rough. I don't remember the exact age, but I remember it was like time periods, right? But it was definitely a time where it just like I was going through a lot, and so like nobody really knew what was going on through the home. Besides that, the physical and mental abuse was like daily, and it was just a lot. And so like at that point, it was like I wanted to be in wrestling, but my mind, it just like kind of gave up a little bit, and I gave up on myself, and so I just knew I really wanted to be an athlete, and I wanted to be a champion. Like when I saw MMA on TV and I saw like, you know, the bantamweight champion of the world, like it really like resonated with me. So like that's like super important for me. So like a lot of people like bailed on me in my life during that time. A lot of friends, a lot of people who like, you know, just thought I was like some loser kid and stuff like that. But what they really didn't know was, you know, I was going through a lot of things, which is not their fault either because they don't know. So like they can't really like go off of what they don't know, right?
Right.
Only what they see. But it was definitely a time where I felt like I was just low. And so getting through all that was like very, very rough. And I'm just like kind of grateful that I was able to make it through all that. And like when I think about it now, it's like crazy at that time to make it through that stuff.
It was all kind of happening at the same time, right?
Yeah, but there's just also little things that would always make you feel good. Like, you know, my father, like I'd leave school early on one day. And I remember it being my birthday. And I just remember him beating me in front of my friends. You know, like just beating me up, calling me a piece of shit, everything like this. Like my father really made it very difficult for me to believe in myself as a young man and just be a man. In many ways, he tried to like feminize me and stuff like that. So like it was very difficult coming up through that time frame. It definitely damaged me a lot. But without wrestling and without jiu-jitsu, without some outlet physically to like get that aggression out, I don't think I would have been able to be like where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because now, I mean, today you have. It seems like you have a pretty good confidence and a good belief in yourself and a good mindset throughout life. Where do you think you learned how to be that person? Where do you think you evolved, and what do you think helped you become from, thinking that you're this person that your father tells you are to being a world champion? You know what I'm saying? Like, what things did you tap into to become that person?
I think there's a series of stuff that happened. So like as a young person, as a young kid and a teenager, I think I compartmentalized a lot. I don't know how I did it, but I was able to like really like, I really held on to this idea that this is what I want to be. And I used to talk about it all the time. Like as a high kid on drugs, and no one thought I was serious. No one in the world, everyone. When I get there, everyone like was like, oh shit, like he's actually gonna go for it. But during that time frame, it's not so simple. It's more like I just held on to this vision in my head. Like I just held on to that dream. It wasn't even like, I didn't even know how it was gonna happen, how I was gonna get there. I definitely compartmentalized as a young man, as a teenager and adolescence to survive it. And then once I survived it, I kind of like made a plan where I was, okay, I'm going to go back to the city. I'm going to get away from this. I'm going to get a job and get insurance. I'm going to fix I had 2 surgeries that I had really bad. I had to get a TMJ surgery to my jaw, which is why like on one side of my face, like it looks more puffier. It's like a little lopsided.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I know you don't notice that unless it's in pictures, but it's a little bit off.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's because like I had to cut the ear open and put a hinge in my jaw.
Was that from an accident?
That was I think it was like during the sports. Like I got hit a lot, and then obviously hit in the home, so I kind of like messed with my jaw a little bit. And then I had to get ACL surgery before I could do anything.
Right, because you tore your ACL wrestling at 15. Yeah. Didn't have anybody to help you.
Nobody helped me get the surgery. Nobody nobody was a parent like, oh shit, I'm gonna get this kid's fixed. They just popped and they just left me like that. And so I kind of had to like figure that part out. And it's an expensive surgery. So like I had to get insurance, and through the insurance, I was able to actually get the ACL surgery. And then I thought if I got the ACL surgery, I would just get right back into the gym and then go straight to like, doing what I was doing, which I did, but it was not that easy. It was like very hard. It was
how long after you popped your ACL did you get the surgery? Because it didn't take a while to get that surgery?
No, yeah, it took me like 6 years, 7 years. And I pulled it to the point where like, because I used to work as a kid, I would try to work on everything. I used to try to work on the freezers, and I walked around a long time like that, but it was so horrible. I had to like put a lot of weight on one leg and figure stuff out. And during that time, I was still, horsing around, still fighting and stuff like that. So it was always dangerous. I couldn't even imagine that now. Like at any point in time, my leg could have came out.
Dude, you're walking around working on it too.
Yeah.
Like.
So I would go take the garbage down the steps to like in the movie theater, and I'd miss one step, come out, and fall right down the steps.
Really?
Yeah. And when I finally got it, they didn't even need to have an MRI. They're like, that shit's gone, right? And so they had the MRI, but it was just gone. Like it was just gone. It was like really gone. And the muscles had been so dormant from not working out that I had to rebuild my leg from scratch. They called like, when you looked at my leg, it was like a chicken leg. It was like very like no muscle at all. So I had to rebuild it. The full therapy for me though, it took like 2 years.
What was that like? Rehabbing your leg, getting from zero to...
I had to do it on my own with no help. I had like the people that helped me when you get the surgery to help you rebuild your leg, but there's a lot of like athletic things they don't tell you. Mm-hmm. And so like I had to figure that out on my own, and I had to go back a second time to re-strengthen it even more and then come back. But I did go straight to a gym. I did join up on a gym, and I did train every day, and from there just little things happened, and I progressed, and I think I was like 26 or 27 before I gave up my full job that I had worked for like a long time. I gave up my insurance, I gave up everything, and I just decided to do jiu-jitsu full-time.
Wow.
And which was very hard because you're giving up, because there was never any other plan, but this was the only plan now. So we had to succeed. It's just interesting because I had a conversation with Murillo one time, high school dropout. I don't have a GED. I'm not really great at everything. And so like the only option was like, oh, we have to fight. This is all we have right now. We have to do it.
That's
And
the only path you
it's
saw.
the only path I saw to get out of everything. And so like from there, I was able to like build momentum for little things and just keep going and having longevity and keep going and just slowly I built it, and then I'm here. And so like it's really crazy. Like when I think of the story as a whole, it's like really wild story. It's like very long and just like I'm 36 now. You know,
You look good, man.
Not bad, right?
Yeah,
Not
dude.
bad.
The jiu-jitsu, or what's the secret?
It's the jiu-jitsu. I don't know. I think it's just like taking care of yourself. When you start hitting 30 years old, you start to, you know, I hit 30 and I fixed a lot of things, and then I hit 32 and I really fixed a lot of things, and then now I feel like 36, but I feel like my body's still like at the best it's been. So I'm hoping it carries into the 40s like that.
Yeah, they say like your mid-30s, your late 30s is like a male's peak performance time in their life. So
Yeah, some people, you know, it's funny. Somebody used to tell me always, it was like, no, it's only at 32, 33. And I'm just like, I think you hit peak more like 35, 36, 37, right? Those are still some peak years. And I definitely think that's what's happening right now. I think like I'm definitely still in the peak. I think I'm still have ways to go up, and I think I'm gonna have a solid body for like the next 3 years, and then hopefully my technique can carry me a little further for the next 2 years. And you know, there's also strategy. There's also like experience, and then you know, when we hit our 40s, then we'll assess like what we're doing,
where we're at as far as
Well,
competition
we'll see.
goes.
Yeah, we'll see what we've done. Have we done enough? Is it enough for me? Is it, you know, or do I feel like I can still come out and do it? There are some guys that do it, so like, you know, it's not far-fetched.
Yeah.
I just want to do it natural, so that's the only thing for
Right.
me. So
That's a big debate, big topic. What do you think about like not testing in jiu-jitsu for steroids?
I think it's dumb. I think they should test. I think that we should have tests, and it should be tested, especially at all majors. All major tournaments, you should have testing.
IBJJF, ADCC.
All major tournaments. I think anything that is a major tournament, especially when there's money involved, you should be tested. And if you come up, you should be disqualified immediately and forfeit that money.
Suspended.
I don't think that it's fair to the playing field. Also teaches the kids that they can be on steroids from a young age, which is what's happening. A lot of these people are on steroids. You do not get that big in that course of time with that type of body and that type of neck, and have that type of strength at such a young age. There are exceptions, but like for the most part, that's not how it is. And I don't know if you've ever rolled people who are on steroids, but they feel different.
Yeah,
like,
you can't move
like
them.
Hard-roaded, like I can beat them, but it's not, their physique does not feel the same. Whether you're on steroids or you're on testosterone replacement therapy, at least if you're on testosterone TRT, like you're older.
Hopefully.
And hopefully, right? And you have a natural like low testosterone where you need it, right? But technically, like any 30-year-old can go and be like, oh, I'm low, and then they get it. So like, it's definitely something I'm not okay with. And it's also about values. As a person, as me, like I know I reached my championship and my titles all without doing it. So like for me, it's really important for me, because this is a topic that comes up. There's a lot of people who are close to you who know everyone's doing it, and they're like, hey, even out the playing field, go do it. And you know, it's not like you're not doing anything they're not doing. But then you got to look at yourself in the mirror, and I'll always wonder if I was able to do it naturally. And so like it doesn't sit well with me. And also like, I don't want to destroy my body like that. Like I want to be here at like 40 years old. I want to have like a good body, and I want to like be able to still be competitive and roll and teach at a high level. And so like I don't want to do that. So I'm very against it, and I will do my hardest and my longest to not get anything unless I absolutely have to, and it's for my health. But I don't see that happening for a very long time, and I feel like I can take care of my body without doing all that stuff. But it's apparent that the community thinks that it's okay as a whole. It's apparent. It's definitely more on the side of like 70-30.
Yeah.
70% of the people think that it's okay and it's whatever. But there's no sport, major sport, that is not regulated and does not get testing on that level. So like, I don't think it's okay. And what I really don't like is, if you are a natural athlete, that's awesome. I'm so for it. If you are somebody who uses performance enhancers and you own it, and because there's no stipulation rule that says you can't use it, I may not respect it, but I can respect that you own it. What I really can't respect is the hundreds of competitors who are on it and they're able to pass their test and they act as if they're not on it.
Right.
Like they promote themselves like, oh, clean here. And it's like, we know you've been on steroids for like 10 years. Like, you know, at least like that bothers me so much. Like, it's like, dude, we all know. There's a small community. Jiu-Jitsu is one of those things that like, everyone knows that everyone's on steroids. And if you're close to the people in the team, then you know that they do steroids, right? So don't try to play it off like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And don't make like statements saying like you're clean and you're not clean. You know, at least I know that I'm clean. If you come test me again, I'm clean. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not worried about that. It's just not, it doesn't sit well with me, but you know, some people might beg to differ, but I just don't think it's correct. And plus, you still have to be skilled when you do steroids to be successful, but it does change recovery time. You are not, like, listen, I'm 36 years old. The recovery time is not the same as 25 years old. I mean, I may feel like the best I am now, but it takes a lot of effort on many things: food, nutrition, recovery throughout the day, timing, strategy for your trainings, everything, versus like being 25-year-olds and just being like, I walk out of bed, I fight, I go back to sleep.
Yeah.
You know? Which is what my friend does. His birthday, he turned 27. He gets off the mat, no stretching, no nothing, gets on, trains, walks off the mat. I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
I need to stretch before or after, before I even do anything.
Right, you're eating well, drinking good water. Yeah. Taking
when
your
I
supplements.
when I eat my cinnamon reviews, they I feel it. You know, I feel it that next 2 days. You know what I mean?
No,
So
I wanted to bring you a cinnamon roll so bad.
Oh, yeah?
I called around all over Forest Hills where I'm at right now. I was like, "Do you guys have cinnamon rolls? Do you guys have cinnamon rolls?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Damn."
Yeah, it's tough, but listen. There's a lot of spots. I've had probably like, I think, including today, because I'm gonna have one today. I've had like 3 over the weekend. I'm good.
Top 3 places in New York City for a cinnamon roll.
So you have to watch my review.
Yeah, watch it on his Instagram, Junny_BJJ.
Mazadar is the top one for me.
Where's that at?
That is on Greenwich, right by Unity.
Perfect.
It's right off 7th Avenue. So like, you go 7th Avenue, you make a left on Greenwich, it's right there. So like, it's in between like kind of like 7th and 6th. And that one is really, really good. I'll show you the review. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it. I'm just saving it because that one's so good and so buttery that I cannot eat like too much of it because it gets too crazy on my body.
Yeah.
Redgate Bakery, which I just showed on my Instagram, which is my second favorite.
That was the cream cheese frosting one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that one's really good. I literally just posted it yesterday.
Go check it out.
So there's a new review on that one. That's my second favorite one. This spot is Redgate Bakery. They actually have everything there. They make their own Oreos there, homemade. They make cake. They make loaves. They make so much cookies. I don't love their cookies, but their cake, they change every day, and they have specialties, and they make cake like no one else in the city.
Redgate Bakery.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And they make their cinnamon rolls. They change flavors every weekend. So right now we did the OG cinnamon roll, which is the original. And then they have like Funfetti cinnamon roll, Babka cinnamon roll, this cinnamon roll, and they always taste pretty good. And my third one right now is called Barachu. I think, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Barachu.
Where's that one at?
That one's on, I think, more towards 10th Avenue.
Okay.
And on the west side. And that one is like, it's like in between like Redgate and Mazadar, where it's kind of really good. It's top tier, but it's not as top tier, but it does the job. It's really, really good. But I have to, as you revisit and you do all these reviews, you might change it. But right now, that's the number 3. And then there's one in New Jersey that's from The Hives. That's called The Hives. We did the review on that one. That one's really good. And then right now, we're still debating on which one's 4 and 5. Like because there's like the ties. But those are my top 3 that I would like. Oh no, this one's really good.
So Mazadar, Redgate Bakery, and Barachu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go check it out.
Those are the ones that you guys should check out. Mazadar is underrated.
And check out Junny's cinnamon roll reviews.
Yes, cinnamon roll reviews.
Once
a week. When I'm not cutting weight, I got you.
Maybe later in life he'll be doing it twice a week. You never know.
Yeah, maybe I'll start my own business. Huh? My girlfriend likes to bake, so we'll see.
Junny's cinnamon rolls coming soon. Hopefully.
But I have to make some protein cinnamon rolls.
There you go. Yeah, you have the protein cookies, right?
Yeah,
you always eat on
those. I eat
those.
those protein. They make it at the Protein Bakery, but there actually have many recipes making protein cinnamon rolls. I just don't know if they're gonna come out awesome.
Right.
Like really good. Like, it's hard. Like, there's one cinnamon roll I eat that's a protein cinnamon roll, It's called Legendary, and they make they call it buns, but like it's just like a cinnamon bun or a chocolate bun.
Right.
And they're like 20 grams of protein. It's like 200 calories. It's actually pretty good. If I needed to like have a
little sweet treat,
that would not be a bad one.
That's it.
But it's a little bit more processed than I would like.
Right.
So
you try to
like,
keep it pretty natural, pretty organic.
Yeah,
pretty...
I think the Protein Bakery has their stuff is baked naturally with all natural ingredients, and they do it in small batches, so they're always fresh.
That's awesome.
So like if you can put something on the shelf and it doesn't go bad forever, there's some type of preservative to keep it from going bad. Versus if I put Protein Bakery on the table after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's not good anymore. You have to freeze it, you have to eat it, and you have to like go. Otherwise, it's just gonna go bad.
That's good. It's not like a Big Mac where you can leave it out for 11 years.
No, nothing's like a Big Mac. I know you've seen those reviews where they put it in like leave it there for like a year or something.
And it's perfect.
It's fine. No, that's just crazy.
The only thing that I can say that's natural is honey. Honey will stay good forever.
Honey's good though. Mm-hmm. Honey's not bad, especially like it's natural, and you can use it for training. You can use it for like cutting weight. You can use it for a bunch of stuff.
I'm coming out with a product pretty soon that's honey based. Yeah,
I
pre-workout.
love it.
So
I love it.
Stay tuned for that.
Okay, let's see this guy right here, pre-workout.
I'll get you some too when
love
it's ready.
That.
I got you. So you were back to like the kind of like the wrestling stuff. You were 15 and you tore your ACL, and then when did you start training again? What age was it?
I just horsed around in my apartment. I used to self-learn. So I used to just from wrestling, I would just watch stuff online. At that time, there was no videos online, and there's barely... YouTube was good back then, but it wasn't, like, popular the way it was.
It wasn't YouTube.
Yeah, it wasn't, like, YouTube now, But I would just watch what I could, and I would just emulate arm locks and emulate rear naked chokes. And I wasn't great at it, but I used to beat up all my friends with one leg and beat everyone up like that.
So you're still drilling.
Yeah, I'm just drilling, fucking around because I really enjoyed it, but like it was just not what I thought. Like I didn't know all the details of what I needed to learn, and I didn't really get back to training till I was a little older. My knee was still. I think I had surgery, but I went to a gym, Roaring Athletics in the city, and I trained there once, and then I had to go back, and my knee was still swelling up from the surgery because it was the first time you're like dropping the knee on the mat and stuff like that.
Right.
And then I think I ended up, so like I'm resourceful. So like I used to learn what I learned and then go to the park and lay out mats and charge people like $10 to come in and help them do training.
That's
and then
so cool.
Used to get some training in and some rounds and like that. It was very basic and stuff like that. And I did that for a little bit until like I joined the gym back up again, and then I just like kept traveling and then going to the gym and training. And that was every day. Once I joined and started working out and getting back to like training, and like I was in like I was all in. I wanted to be an MMA fighter.
Right, you were training MMA.
Yeah,
running, right?
I was training everything, and I didn't even want to do gi. But like, as I did Jiu Jitsu and I put the gi on, I saw myself doing more and more gi, and then I became okay at the gi, and then I became good. And I really wanted to do MMA though. I would train everything. I would train striking. I trained like a mixture of like Muay Thai and like kickboxing and Dutch kickboxing. And I worked really hard on my striking so that I can like get ready. Because like grappling kind of came natural for me, which is like I feel like wrestling was like where I felt like, oh, this is really cool. But jiu-jitsu is where I felt like, oh, grappling comes natural to me. Like I feel really good in grappling. And then striking didn't come as natural, so I had to work really hard to make sure my striking was on point and like very technical, not only to defend myself but also to be like fight. And I got to a good place. Like I feel good with my striking. I think I strike straight for almost 3.5 years.
Wow.
And I was trying to get an amateur fight at that time, or like at that time my coaches, they hopefully prepping me to get ready for that. But then I met Murillo.
Ronin, right?
Yeah, at Ronin. He was like shopping for like his spaces, and this is like a year before it even opened up. And then I opened up the morning for him so he can train, and I ended up training with him. And I ended up finding this new level, and we became friends. And then like we just bonded, and I ended up leaving with him and kind of left like the MMA on the back burner so that I can like go and be a high level grappler. And I just did that every fucking day. every day. And that's when I kind of shifted to like, I want to be a top level grappler, and MMA kind of took a back seat, which I don't regret too much, because like I enjoyed everything I accomplished as a high level grappler. Maybe MMA one day, maybe not.
Really?
Yeah, maybe like having fight or dabbling in it, but definitely getting back to striking within the next year and a half. I want to get back to like some striking or like mixed striking. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's not like I don't know if it's my first love to like go and fight for a belt or something like that. But right now it's like more like I'm okay where I'm at, especially like not getting hit repeatedly and stuff like that. Like sparring is okay and stuff like that, but like, I mean, like in a fight getting repeatedly hit, it's different.
It's the best part about jiu-jitsu. You can train 7 days a week. And
very hard, yeah.
Your body's going to be a little bit beat up and a little bit sore, but your head...
Yeah, but you can't spar like that. You can't spar. At this
Thai or
point,
anything.
this days, you shouldn't even sparring to minimum. Like, that's just the difference in the issues. But I do love striking, and I do have a love for it. And I do think it's important to have striking for self-defense in general.
I agree.
Cause like you can say jiu-jitsu all day you want, but we're in the fucking street. The first thing I'm gonna do is punch you in the face, right?
Exactly.
Like I'm not gonna take you down, right? So like it's important to know that and keep your space distance and be able to either one, run away, or two, if it hits anything, you can defend yourself.
Right. No, I agree. I think, like you said, every fight starts on the feet too.
Yeah, and that shit where like, yeah, if you're grappling and people don't know what you're doing, and it's good to nullify them with jiu-jitsu for sure, but there might be, what if a guy is, like I'm a 5'6" guy, if the guy's, really big and I'm not even able to get a hold of him, I have to have enough discipline with my striking, enough to keep them away, either beat them up or nullify them, or enough to run.
A little teep kick to the gut and just run away, right?
It's funny because teep kicks are my shit.
Dude, they work so well.
They work so well.
Very
so well.
underused move in MMA.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some guys are starting to use it a lot, but to keep the distance, that's like the greatest thing you can ever use.
I used to do a front teep and a rear teep and a switch teep. Those are all my stuff. I did more of like I never really did like heavy kicks with my lead leg, because I stand in an orthodox stance, unlike wrestling, because I had ACL surgery on my right leg, my left leg became my power leg.
Interesting.
And so like I ended up having, so I can fight on both sides and stuff. But I would ended up like doing a lot more Dutch style kickboxing, which is like more like I end everything with a right kick. So all my combinations were like geared to like little ones with the front, but it always ended with a right kick, whether it was high or low. But because when I was striking, nobody was my size. Everyone was bigger than me. So it's just hard to like do head kicks and do stuff. I would get high, but it would not be as big. Recently, I was like just sparring with somebody my size a little bit, and I was just like, this is so much easier. Like, cause like it's different challenges, right? Speed, timing, but like as far as like being able to head kick and teep and easy.
You can reach your head.
Yeah, I can reach your head. I can do this. So it makes a big difference.
It's nice, right?
Yeah.
So you met Marilla at what age?
I don't know the exact age, because I want to say that it was around 22 or 23. But I remember, I think it was like 22, right? Because I got into the city, I want to say like around 22. So like if it's 2013 and what is it now? It's 2025. So that's how many years is that? That's
12 years.
So 12 years. So I think it's about 12 or 13 years that I've known him. And that I met him in my young 20s. And so it was definitely, we've known each other for a while now.
He's seen you grow into the person.
Yeah, I was definitely a different person at that time. I was also in a different relationship, different circumstances, but it's definitely a different person now.
That's cool.
We grew up. Our relationship now is like nothing compared to what it was.
Really?
Like we're way more. We understand each other. We're like brothers, and he's my professor. We're like family. Like he's like I just consider him my big brother, and I'm his brother, and he doesn't treat me less than or anything like that. It's just always like, besides being on the mat, professor and student.
Sure.
Elsewhere, it's not like that. It's like very like family oriented and just, I'm like his like lieutenant kind of like for his like the gym. So like whatever he says, I'm not really one to question him unless, we're family. So like if I have to say something, I will. But I also know when there's a time and place to do it versus like, saying it on the mat or something like that. And so I think that that presence and our relationship really grew into something different now. So
Yeah.
it's like very positive.
That's amazing. It's important to have a positive influence in your life, somebody that's a little bit older than you who can kind of help guide you throughout life. Do you think that you would be where you are today without Murillo?
Oh, no, not at all. He opened up every single door. You know, you think about this. There's like a couple people in my life that will always be in my good graces. And they're in my good graces for a reason. They've selflessly helped me, and when they have nothing to gain from it, and I will always be there for them in a way that they need something, I'll do it, because there's not many people I know in my life that do things in the world that do things selflessly without anything in return. Murillo's one of the first people in my entire life to open up a door and say, hey, look, I want you to come here, and he doesn't want nothing in return. He wants you to do his best. He wants you to be a good person, be a good role model, stuff like this. But like, it's like he doesn't ask for anything in return. So like, without him opening the doors, I definitely wouldn't have been there. Like, he definitely saved me. Like, he saved me out of the place I was and allowed me to have the opportunities to make jiu-jitsu a career and make money off it. And not just that, but reach the highest levels of the sport. Which you got to think about that, right? Like, you see somebody in their 20s, they're not 10 years old.
Right.
They're not like they have bad habits. They experience life. They experience trauma. They're not kids where you can just be like, oh, you're just going to train, do this and this, and it's easy.
Right.
Because you build them up. It's easy. Doing that as an older person, it's like the story of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right? They choose Anakin at an older age is very dangerous. It could turn bad too, So I'm grateful for him for doing that for me. That's just something that's like always in my good graces forever. There's just first person ever like give me opportunity to really see that dream come true, and which is why like winning the Black Belt World Championship, when I did win it, it was like the most, like, that season was special. This year's special, but like that one spot was just like, I didn't leave my professor to get it. We went through it together. We went through all the hard stuff together, and like it was kind of like a full circle of like what he envisioned for me. So it's without him for sure, I wouldn't have been able to be where I'm at. I mean, that goes for a lot of people though. It's not just me. Like, and that makes him even how much more of like a giving person he is, because there's so many people that are champions now that went through him, and they're kids obviously, but they went through him to have those opportunities. And so like we're all kind of indebted into there. He doesn't ask for nothing in return, but he is just an amazing human being that does not get enough credit for like what he does for the sport separately, but also just for like people in general. He's a very good person, very giving person, very tough, gritty person, but also a very good person.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how was that the first time? Because you're a young guy, you have your habits, you're doing what you're doing, and then Murillo comes in, and he's a big dude. He means business. So.
I think with me he didn't have an issue too much because I love training, and I had been through so much in my life that I was gritty enough to get through the training. Like I had been through so much trauma that it's very hard to tell me like, oh, do this and do this, because like nothing else would be harder than that. So like, I think that's the difference. Like, I could take a lot of what he gave me, which is why he pushed my limits a lot. Like, I think that's the difference between me and a lot of other people, is that like he knew he could push me more and more and more because he knew I'd take it and I could excel from it.
He knew you wouldn't break, right?
Yeah. And if I did break, I would just keep going. He said it many times. Like that I've burnt out plenty of times and then just push right through and I get back on the horse again.
That's what it takes to be a champion.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's definitely. It's not even that. That's what it takes to stay a champion. Like, in a state, like, I know a lot of people who've won something and they just got burnt out. It's just tiring and it's just exhausting. And they're just like, no, forget it. I don't want to do it no more. It takes a special type of person to keep going and being there, especially once you've reached something that you've tried so hard for.
On those days where you're like dead tired, burnt out, but you got to train, you have a goal, you know what I'm saying? Where do you reach to get that motivation to get in the gym? I
trick myself for the most part. For me, I trick myself to being in like more of a space of, I just trick myself and like tell myself like, is that it? Is that all we're capable of? Like, is this it? And this depends on the day of what it is. Like, I'm older, smarter, and more wiser now, so I can tell the difference between my body's telling me I need to chill the fuck out and maybe take like most of the day off, And I say most of the day because it's very rare that I take a full day off. If I'm going to take a day off, I'm probably still going to train in the morning, and then from there I'll take the rest of the day off, which for me is like 2 hours out of 24 hours is nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So like this is much different. But if I feel like I am choosing not to do a workout and rest more because I'm just being a baby, and then that's a different thing. And then I look at myself and tell myself like, just get to the gym, go, and then just remember, like, if we want to be a champion and we want the things we want, we have to push through these things. We just got to get it done, even if we don't want to do it. And there's so many days like this. Listen, I love training, and everyone does, but you do it for a very, very, very long time, and you do that shit routinely every, like, a decade, 12 years, 13 years.
That's a long time.
And then you even do like the last like 4 years at the highest like point of your level, like where it's like all effort every day. There's more days that you don't want to do it than there is that you want to do it. Like, and that's just the reality of it. Like, you're not going to love it every day. I enjoy training and I enjoy troubleshooting. And I think I have like OCD with like being the best. So like I will go back to the gym, even if I know I'm just like frustrated. But, there's a lot of days where you just don't feel like it, or you're tired, or you're exhausted, or you put a lot of effort into, like you put a lot of effort into your training all week. And then there's like, oh, that's it. Next week, you're just going to not train just because you're, so like there's these little differences you have to differentiate, like what's real rest and then what's me resting too much. So like weekends, I'll feel tired, but I'll push through my training I'm supposed to do. But I'm supposed to not train the rest of the day. Like, that's incorporated into the training. That's part of the training.
Right.
My ability to have to be able to know when to shut it down and just chill.
Yeah.
And enjoy life is part of the training. That's a flex for me. So for me, training less is harder, right? Some people it's not. Some people's like, okay, I'll train less, no problem, whatever. And for them, training more is the problem, right?
Gotcha.
Or that's their issue. So it's different by person.
Interesting.
Right? So like some people need to work on training harder and more, right? And not relaxing so much. And some people need to chill the fuck out. So for me, it's a chill out. It's doing less. Like when I get ready to compete, I need to do less.
You got to make sure you schedule in your recovery time.
Yeah, just do less. Yeah, like if the weekend's supposed to be what you're supposed to do, like on a Sunday, right? Mine is like, I'm supposed to train 90 minutes on a Sunday. Nothing more, nothing less. And then the rest of the day, minus getting stuff ready for the week, is like maybe like today we're sitting here with you.
Chilling.
This is chilling, doing podcasts. Okay, no problem. Or I do a private in the morning. That's different, right? Because it's part of making money. But for the most part, we have to have rest most of that day. Mm-hmm. Because if it's all in 6 hours, 8 hours every single day and doing what you love, you're just going to burn out. And people don't realize this. This is the same thing I'm trying to explain to my students, or especially one of my younger blue belts. He's older, but like he's a blue belt, so he's like still in his like, oh, how do I fix this every day? How do you do this every day? Because like I train every single day, which is pretty rare for an athlete. Like most people have at least one day that they don't do. But I make 2 of those days like only 90 minutes, and I just do my all for those 90 minutes, and then I rest the rest of the day. But what they don't understand is that you need the consistency of having like, like if you're going to be there 5 days, you're going to do 5 days of good training, hard, good energy. Do what you say you're going to do. And then you take 2 days off. Like if that's the amount of time you need, everyone's different. You take a day off. My girlfriend takes 1 day off every week. And, like she has 1 session a day, 1 day off every week. I do a lot of hours during the week, but then on the weekend, I cut it down as much as I can.
Taper back to recover.
Yeah. So I can recover because I'm always putting 1,000% effort. And it's hard to do that all day. So you're not going to feel like it a lot. Especially like when you are like tired and you just train and you just did like absolute division this session and this session, and like you're doing wrestling and you didn't pull guard once the whole time and you're just wrestling the whole hour and a half.
It's draining.
It's draining, especially if you're rolling with big guys, but then you can't let that get away from like your lifting. So like I'm supposed to lift 3 days a week on these days. If something happens and I train, I think my body's really messed up and I need to like prolong the lifting to another day, that's okay. But you have to have contingencies for that. So if I miss a Monday through Wednesday workout for lifting, it can only transfer into Friday. I know, me as a person, how I am, And on Saturday and Sunday, I'm not supposed to be training and lifting. I'm supposed to be resting. So that cannot go past Friday, right?
You have your blocks.
Yeah. And then at work, there's some times where you have to adjust.
Travel,
so there's some
whatever.
there's some great area there. But at minimum, 2 days, 2 sessions every day. That's a minimum. Every day, 4 days a week. Wow. Minimum, right? That's a minimum. That's like not even entry, right? So like that has to be there. There's a little gray area to play with things, but like this thing where like you love it and you just want to be there every single day, and there's going to be days where you come in and you're just not, that's not true. That's not true. Anyone who says that stuff is like lying to you. Like there's going to be a lot of days you don't feel like coming in, especially on days where you're distraught and you're upset, but you have to just go in and do the work.
Yeah, at a certain point, people say motivation. How do I get motivated to train? What do I do to get motivated? At a certain point, it's not motivation. It's just the discipline to get up and get
I think
to
it's
the gym.
routine.
It's routine too.
It's routine. I think it's discipline too, but it's routine. Some days you just have, once you build the habit, and the discipline becomes the habit, and you build it up, and then you just are going to go train.
Yeah.
I've been doing it forever. I'm gonna go train. Mm-hmm. Right? Like
you're used to it.
Like it doesn't matter what happens. This is my priority for what I want. Now, if this isn't your priority and you feel like you training, but this doesn't overtake this, it's different.
Right. You have kids, a job, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, but you got to be honest with yourself. What's your goal ranges? And this goes back to like what we spoke about before. Like, what is your goals? All right, this is the goals it takes. Like, I want to win another world championship, and I want to fight at the highest level, but I want to get all better at all these things. Well, changes have to be made. And you got to do days. Like, I want to be really good at wrestling. Well, you got to train wrestling a little bit more, and you got to do times where you just don't pull guard and you just wrestle the whole time, even if you lose.
Right.
And that has to be the change, right? Which is fine, right? But there has to be the change. You can't be realistic and be like, well, I'm going to be a world champion, but I'm going to start in the second half of the season because this is the off season. And believe it or not, these are conversations that I'll have with people. They'll literally tell me that, oh no, but this is the off season, and I'm just like, those are people who are never going to make it. It's very rare that you have people that can do that. Most of the time, the people who are the champions who win consistently or place consistently at a high level are the people who are working all the time.
Yeah, it's like Michael Jordan and Kobe weren't chilling in the off season. They're in the gym shooting every day. And
right? I'm sure that they're in the gym, they're working, and even when they had their leisure time, they all had their leisure time. Everyone had something they like to do. I'm according to a lot of Michael Jordan stuff. He loved gambling and he loved doing this and he loved doing that. And, it's gray area, but everyone has their thing, right? To say somebody doesn't have time to make time for them to do something they like is a lie. We all make time for stuff that we really want. So I make time to rest and chill and be with my boys and watch a little bit of TV and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But I know that the majority of my days are spent in training. Right? I don't go out and do all these other things because I rather put all my stuff to training.
Right.
So if I have to choose between going out with friends or getting up in the morning, I'm going to be going to sleep and getting up, Mm-hmm. But if I do decide that I'm going to go hang out or do something, which is rare for me. I live like a senior citizen lifestyle.
Same, dude. I'm 23 and I do too. I don't blame you.
No,
it's the good life, right?
For me, it's awesome. I just don't know how people do it anymore.
I don't either, bro.
But if I am going to do that, I'm going to make training the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it tired. I'm going to do it exhausted, but I'm going to do it. And that's a big thing that I think people don't like to do. They don't understand, a lot of people don't understand what it takes to do certain things that you want to do. This is why there's a very few world champions in IBJJF and IBJJF gi and no gi, and very few champions in ADCC. And even if you're good, let's say you're good, and you place at all the tournaments, but then the following year you're tired. You're tired of this shit. You place all the time, you're not there, and then they fall off little by little, and it's contagious, and it's it can consume you of just not holding yourself to those little things. And it comes down to the small things. Going to do the workout when you don't feel like it. Doing your bed when you don't feel like it. And this was something that I suffered for the last season of the last year, right? Where I felt really motivated, really disciplined, really everything. But just for that last month, I let my standard go down just a little bit with little decisions. Oh, I'm not going to make my bed. Oh, I'm not going to go get this haircut because I'm tired. Oh, I'm just going to rest my body because I'm getting ready more for the competition and I'm resting. But then it was too much rest.
Right.
It was too much rest. Like
it bleeds into other ways.
There's a time to rest and there's a time to get work done. And in that last little half of the season, those little decisions ended up messing with a lot of things in my training, and I wasn't happy with myself of that ending of that season. So for me, even though it was a great season overall, like honestly, we won everything we wanted to, minus not being able to compete for Worlds. But for me, it was like, as a person, as a man, I did not uphold my standards as to who I am as a champion, and who I am as a person. And because of that, I was very upset at myself for a while. And so like, I'm just now getting back into like, and throughout that time where you're upset and you're depressed and you're like going through it, I did not train.
You still train?
I came in, I trained, I was just working through my emotions while I'm training. You know, you got to get the work in and you got to get better and stuff like this. So it can creep up on you. Even if you're a disciplined person, it crept up on me. And like, I felt like, shit, this is happening. I couldn't believe that after the fact. I was just like, wow, this, you know, I didn't do this. Oh, I said I was gonna wake up at this time and do it. But I pushed that back like 2 hours. And these are not things I do. I just get up and I do it. Get up and you get it done. No, I do it now, you know? And then there's like, you know, times you can rest, but it becomes, you know, like very like little small things that'll change, and then you don't think it adds up, and then a month later you're like, shit, that's not who I am. It's not my standards. Not how I live my life.
Right. They say how you do one thing is how you do everything, and if you start to slack off in one area,
it's like, all right, you're a hard worker here. Okay, so then you should be a hard worker when you clean your apartment and all day when you do things and good, and you should have time to relax. Sure. You know what I mean? I'm the type of person, when I'm sitting down on a weekend and I'm chilling, it feels wrong.
Me too, bro.
You know, like what the fuck am I doing in my life? I should be training or do something. But that is also a part where you got to learn how to let go. So this is like the yin and yang balance, especially for the go-getters, like the people who are really disciplined. You should be working on other things, but like, you have to have time to enjoy your life too. Like, and that's super important for me, is like remembering like over this last week, I've been feeling a lot better because I like got back to a place where I was just like, yeah, you know what? I was looking through a bunch of pictures, like where I'm at in my life compared to where I was is like tenfold. I was like, I don't care what it is. I'm not where I want to be in certain areas, but for me, this is like amazing, like where I'm at. And I choose to go training, and I choose my schedule, and I choose this. And I worked hard to be able to choose that. And I don't want to lose sight of that. And so like, I forget that competition is fun for me. It's good for me to go. I like the challenges. I like feeling tired and going to push yourself and break it through. And what happens is, when you start doing these things where like you go and you're tired and you still go training, you break through the wall. Like there's a point where you just feel like you're hitting a wall, and then all of a sudden you just break through the wall. And once you break through the wall, it's like, you know, like, wow, I really won that. Like winning the day is a big thing for me. Like little things, winning the day. So if you can win most of the day in little battles, that's how I just look at everything as a little battle. Like I don't think about my lifting session in the morning when I'm training, because if you do that, you're going to be like, I don't want to lift, I'm fucking tired. Yeah. Right? You don't want to do that. But you have to be like, I'm going to train really hard for this session. I'm not going to think about, I'm going to let it go. And then the next session, I'm going to train, like I'm focused on that. And then, so like little battles throughout the day. You got to do that every day though. Right. And like for a long period of time. So like, it's important to have that discipline and have that mentality where you're not going to, if you really love something, you do it so passionately, it means you're going to be obsessed with it. And you're going to have days that you don't feel like doing it.
So you wake up in the morning too. This is a big thing that I've heard you say, is affirmations. Do you think that helps you?
Yeah. I mean, I do affirmations, and I also do like podcasts that talk about bringing specialty in that field, or motivational speakers, and they have a conversation. They talk about various topics that like kind of talk about the brain or the science of something,
neuroscience.
Or just anything that revolves around that mentality. And it could be not even that. It could be just little things about like, you know, food, or like how you digest things, or like,
and how that affects your mental.
Right? How all that affects you. And like, I think it's just important to think, like wake up and have something positive and just learning, you know. In the morning for me, like I'm getting up, I'm grateful for the best 3 things that in my life, and
That's
then
awesome.
And then after that, I'm either studying or I'm listening to a podcast while I get ready for my boys, right? And I even know, like me, like I like to study, but I also know myself versus somebody else. Like I have to study increments and train, increments train. I don't do like 2 hours of studying I do increments and train.
Right.
Troubleshoot, modify, increments, train. And that's how I get through my stuff.
You have
right?
your routine.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So like it's different for everybody, but you know, you got to find a way to get through that. And to start your morning positive is important. Like I try really hard, and I have to do a better job because, you know, sometimes you're working too. So you have to be in the morning. Everything's on my phone working. But the best thing for me to do is like put a YouTube thing on, put my phone aside, and just like listen
clear
to
your
it.
head a
Yeah,
little
just
bit.
like chill a little bit and just remember like it's okay. Like I get home from training in my first session, I'm thinking about all the mistakes I made, and I have the next session like within 40 minutes. And
You gotta chill.
I gotta put the phone down, go to sleep, and then when I wake up, we'll take care of it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you came from, you know, like a rough background in the Bronx, and then moving to Pennsylvania all the way up to 2023. You won Worlds, you won Pan Ams, you won Euros, and then you did the same thing with Pan Ams and Euros in 2024. When you think back about your whole life, that moment right there when you win Worlds, what do you feel like? What are the thoughts that are going through your head in that moment when you're getting your hand
That
raised?
I did it. Like I did it. I remember crying. I was hugging Marilla, and I just remember telling him like, we did it. You know, we finally like we did it. You know, after like, you don't understand how many years I was like falling short every year, like just by this much, by this much, by this much, and it weighs on you, and you have to go back and be like, no, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. And the part that messed with me is I'm older, so like it was like always like in the back of my mind, like, is this it? Am I only gonna be like a placer? Am I not gonna be a champion? And so like it didn't. And I was like, no, fuck that. Like I'm going to be a champion, or I'm going to die trying. So like I made it even more clearer to myself, like, no, we're gonna make changes, and I'm gonna change here, we're gonna change this, we're gonna study this, we're gonna look at everything that everyone's doing, how they're winning the championships, how is this person that I'm way better at winning these championships, break it down, practice it every day, make it normal so that when I go fight, I'm not flustered. And so like that was a big thing for me. And then when I actually won it, it was like, well, you know, I set out that year, I was like, I'm just gonna do all the majors. But you don't know if you're going to win all the majors.
Right.
So you just try your best and hope. But I had faith that I was like, I felt really good. There's moments where I just felt so invincible. But my mental change really changed in 2023 as a competitor. I was like I'm competing for everything. Fuck everybody.
You think that's what made the difference?
Like, no, I was just competing from everything, from every second of the round, from the pool, from this, from that. I practice every part of a tournament match. Like, even now, like, I'm practicing every part of a match, the stand-up, the pull, the double pull, the resets, everything. So that when it happens, I'm not like, oh, like, whatever, let's go.
You're comfortable.
You know, we're going to go.
I've seen this before.
And it's really important to have that and be okay with that. And so as I started doing that and wrestling and doing everything, you know, like I felt like I was very good to go. Then as I won Euros, then I won Pans, and then I finally won the Worlds, it was like, okay, I did it. But then I got really depressed because nothing changed. You know, yeah, we get recognition. We're in the history books. You know, we solidified ourselves as one of the best, but also nothing changed. You weren't getting too many things. You know, at that time, I was still living in a different apartment, which I couldn't afford. I was like dying to make rent. Like it was like twice the amount, and it was just like really rough. And so like I was like just kind of depressed. Like, damn, is this what it is? And then I also got to my head like, is that it? Is that all I'm capable of? Is the goal there? And I made the mistake of only putting the goal of I'm going to be a world champion and not the thing higher than that. So the goals had to change. And so we had to be like, okay, what are the goals this year? You know, like, okay, we're going to do La Liga and we're going to try to repeat. And that was the biggest thing. Like, can I do it again? Can I keep it consecutive? Can I do it at a high level?
Yeah.
And can I keep like going, you know? And Pans, Euros and Pans made it just very clear to me that like I'm the top guy and one of the top guys at the division. That it takes a lot to beat me, and even on an off day where I'm feeling like shit, I can pull it together. So it was like a very adversity year. Like it was very like a different part of my championship phase. It was like not, you know, you're not. It's not even like I'm defending these titles because they're just new for every year, but it was like I'm in a new realm where like I'm fighting and everyone's eyes are on me and they're just trying to kill me. And like this, I have to be up every day, motivated, fighting as if I'm a hungry competitor. And so like, or if I'm like not the champion. So like it's that different mindset where you got to let go of titles, let go of this and go deeper to what's really at the core for me. And so that was a challenge because I was so nervous about losing. And then I remember going into like American Nationals and I had lost a really shitty call. I was winning the whole match, everything was there, and I lost a shitty call against somebody I had just beat, and that just reignited the fire under me. But it also took a lot of pressure off me. It took like, oh, I finally fucking lost after like 18 fights.
Yeah.
You know? And it was just like, I was so upset, so depressed, so whatever. But then it just lit a fucking fire. I was like, I'm not going to let that happen again. And then after that, it just re-sparked it for the next thing. So it sucks that sometimes it has to happen, but sometimes that loss or like that thing, when you're winning everything and you're like doing all this, just like even just losing once, even if I'm not saying it's great, I'm just saying that like it takes that fucking pressure off. And you hear this about many UFC fighters, that after they lost, they're just like, that pressure's gone.
Right, especially the champions.
Yeah, the pressure's gone. Like they lost, okay, that happened. You know, so like that's the thing. And then like reignited me for that. And then I was all primed to go to Worlds, and Worlds just ended up not happening for me that last year. And so like it really put me in a bad place. But also I'm finally to a place where it's like, okay, that happened. Okay, I felt like that was a failed season because of that, or like failed ending. So now I'm just like, okay, we're not gonna let that happen again.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. And now it's just like, what do you look forward to, like really pushing yourself to the next limit? At this point, I don't need to do it. Like, I don't really need to do it. I really don't have anything to prove to anybody anyway at this point, especially with all the stuff I've been through in my life. If I gave someone else the same cards, they might have fumbled a long time ago.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really have nothing to prove anything to myself. Like for me, I just know I want to be a multiple-time world champion. So that's the most important thing to me. But other than that, just really just pushing my limits and getting better in jiu-jitsu and just trying not to do it for anyone else but me. And I lost sight of that a little bit towards the end of last year, and this year I'm back.
That's
more
amazing.
Like in a better place.
That's good. I'm happy to hear you're in a better place, man. When you're on, man, it's like you said, no one in the world can beat you. It's super cool to watch.
I feel like when I'm fighting, and I'm not fighting for anyone else, and I'm fighting for just me and everything I love, I'm just a different person. I can go wherever you want to go, and like the championship runs last year were very important because like there were. Like especially like Pans, I was tired. I had like less than a week between championships.
Yeah.
And I had to win those back to back within 2 weeks. And like going into Pans, I was so exhausted, and I was not up for either fight, and I had to wake up in the fight and pull out stuff that I don't usually use, like my flashy shit that I would normally not use. But the fact that I was able to do that at such a tired state was like very like, okay. You know,
at such a high level.
Yeah, we shouldn't let that happen. But the fact that we can do it shows that like if we have an off night, we can trust our skills.
Yeah, trust your jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
For sure. So that being said, what are your plans for 2025? Early in the year right now?
So right now, it's so tough because like there's so many opens, but like first off, they're in gi season, so it's not so great. I have my manager looking for super fights right now. Nice. Hopefully, our hope is ADXC, maybe one championship.
One championship. If you're watching this, this is the guy you need right here. Talk about excitement.
Yeah, you're talking about who should really be the 135-pound champ.
Yeah.
But,
you want to see some sick
one
jiu-jitsu?
championship, ADXC, BJJ Stars, hopefully BJJ Crown, anything like that. My manager's working on getting those matches or those type of matches there. As far as championship runs go, I have to look at the schedule. We're definitely doing Worlds this year. That's going to be top priority, and nothing will get in the way of that. I will double down on that. AIGA finals against sick teams in June, so that's the most readily available one. And that one's really big because it's a lot of money for everyone. So like for me, it's like huge. So I really want to like do well. So I'll be training really hard for that. And then we'll see for the championship runs. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do all of them again. What people don't understand when you do all of them and you're traveling all the time, this is why a lot of people haven't done it, is it's very hard to win everything all the time consistent and go from peak to peak to peak without falling down low.
Right.
It's very hard. With that said, I'm a very challenging person. So like I might feel like it's incomplete and I want to do it again. But the main thing for me is just the World Championship this year. I've already repeated on Pans. I've already put it at Euros. Maybe Brasileiros I want to do.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Those are really the only titles I'm looking at. And we'll see. But I have to look at the schedule. But those are the main goals. And then if I do not get a super fight lined up within March, which is where I'm looking to fight, April I'll probably jump in an open. I'll probably jump in the New York or the Boston Open and then just get out and compete again. But it's been a little bit now of me not competing, and so like I'm really antsy to compete and showcase my skills. So we'll see. But yeah, that's where I'm looking at right now. But a lot of super fights, more exposure, and just going at some championships for myself.
That's awesome. So let me ask you a question. Craig calls you up and he's like, yo, we got a 35 super fight for you at CJI. Big bag, a lot of exposure. What do you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I would love for them to make 135 or a super match. That'd be great. I'm trying to stay at 135 for sure, but if the money's involved and the money's good, it has to be one of two things. Either the weight's really good for me and it means something to my legacy, or the money's really good and it really helps me financially.
Yes.
Right? Because otherwise, it's not the incentive to do anything. But I would love to do that. Unfortunately, for their thing, they're not even choosing a 60. It's only 66 kilograms. So
right.
If you had to choose a 66 kilogram, I wouldn't be the top pick for your 66 kilogram just because I'm smaller. It's just.
But
not
a super
saying
fight.
Yeah, super fight different. Super fight's different. Yes. So,
like they did like Mackenzie versus Vion. Like you could do something like that.
I would love that, and I think CGI rules would be dope for me.
You like that 5 minute?
Oh man, I love that. I love the 3 5-minute rounds or fish a championship 5 5-minute rounds. That's so dope. You could be surprised. Like the one thing about Aigo was that there's 5-minute brief periods. Obviously, I subbed everybody in the first round, except the second one. I went back to my corner, sip of water, catch your breath, and you switch game plans.
Right.
You know, it's
chat with your team a bit. Yeah, it's cool.
It's one of those things where like it can flip, and that's important. So I'm all about that. Like I love it. I love how finishers sub only adapted it for their championship fights.
Right.
Which is really dope. Check out finishers if you haven't.
Definitely check out finishers if you like jiu-jitsu.
I would love to. Unfortunately, they can't. They try. They would give me a great match. They would always hook me up. But just some people are more expensive than others, and that's just what it is.
Yep.
So unfortunately, if the money was right, I would definitely jump in there. Since it's not, it's just something I like watching from afar because it's just like so cool that they're
fun
doing
to watch for sure.
Yeah, they're doing championship matches. It's 3 5-minute rounds. That's dope.
I like it.
Anything better than EBI? I actually just turned down fighting for EBI 24.
Oh really?
Or 23 it is, one or the other. Yeah, there's combat jiu-jitsu rules, and I was going to do it because the money was really good, but I would have to take away from what I'm already doing right now to get ready appropriately for it. I know people just jump in it for the money and stuff, but I am one of those guys that like prepare for everything the right way, so I don't want to just do that. And so unfortunately I had to turn it down, but I'm sure there's going to be some more opportunities for me to like showcase some jiu-jitsu.
100%, bro. I'm excited to see what you do this year. It's going to be a good year for you. I can already tell, man.
I appreciate you.
Of course. Last question, and we can wrap it up. I asked you this last time we were together. If you could have 3 separate dinners with anybody, dead or alive.
Say this again.
If you could have 3 separate dinners with anybody in the world who's dead or alive, who would you choose?
Oh, I said Snoop Dogg last time.
Right, you said Snoop.
So Snoop for sure.
100%.
The Rock.
The Rock.
His cheat meals. Specifically his cheat meals.
Yeah.
Nothing
Sunday
else.
nights is his cheat night.
His French toast.
Oh, yeah.
I would
it has
do
like
the French
ice
toast.
cream and all that good stuff.
Who else is a good person to go to dinner with? Those are my 2 favorites. It's so crazy because I'm a foodie and I love food.
Oh yeah, you said Snoop because Cooking with Martha. That's right.
Yeah. Snoop has a really good cookbook.
He does.
I want to say, and not because of him, just because I love pizza, David Portnoy.
Portnoy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just so I can review some pizza with him.
One bite, you know the rules.
One bite, you know the rules. It's just like 10 bites. It's my favorite. It's like
And then
I love pizza. Yeah. It's amazing. And then what was the other one?
That was it. It was Snoop Dogg, The Rock, and David Portnoy.
But what was the other question? If you had that, it was just food, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I guess if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? One meal. It could be from a restaurant that you cook. One meal for the rest of your life, every day.
For the rest of my life, every single day, because it needs to have protein in it. Unfortunately, it can't be a sweet. It would be a cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak from Mama Two's?
Mama Two's, did you try it?
Not yet. I've been so busy, but I got to try it. I have it in the back of my head.
Yeah, I haven't went back because I went back to a lot less eating out and just pure cooking to get my body ready to fight, just in case something comes up.
Yep.
But it's definitely on the list for one of my cheat meals.
Mama Two's, if you hear this, give Junny a sponsor. Let's get something going.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
Shout out, Junny. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you doing this, man.
Appreciate you so much.
Great seeing you today, bro.
Seeing you too, brother.
Heck yeah, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.